here that energy cannot be destroyed, it cannot be created, it can only be transformed. And this is a fundamental law of our universe, and it's called the first law of thermodynamics. But what is even energy? So, is energy a thing? This is more of a philosophical question regarding the definition of a thing. What does it mean for something to be real? What does it mean for something to be a thing? If you can't see it or touch it, does it mean that it's not a thing, that it's not existing? Or is it just a mathematical construct? I mean, we can't really touch speed. No one denies that speed exists. Does that mean that speed isn't a thing? Maybe a thing isn't necessarily a material object. There are many constructs for which we have concepts but do not directly perceive. This does not make them any less real. In fact, the concept of energy has lots of utility and provides us with a lot of explanatory power for directly measuring things in the observable universe. But that doesn't really explain what energy is. It's like saying time is a thing, energy is a thing. What does that explain? Well, let's ask physicists. If you talk to a physicist, the first thing that they will probably answer you with is, very, very simply, energy is the ability to do work. Work? Well, per the Google definition, work is the transfer of energy to or from an object via a force acting over displacement. Work is energy to or from an object acting over displacement. And this is just a circular definition, isn't it? We use energy as a way to describe work, and work as a way to describe energy. So let's take a different approach. Work is a bit tricky to define without looping back into the definition of energy. However, we have a mathematical definition, a more basic, and one that uses mathematical terms like force and displacement. You know, the dot product, it's a thing that we all learned during high school, and using this very simple trick, we can make a not very decisive definition, but one that we can use. So imagine that you have a car, and this car has to move throughout this straight line, from point A to point B. If I push the car directly perpendicular, I am not contributing to the movement of the car throughout this specific path. This means that I have failed to move my car from point A to point B, and therefore my work is zero. However, if I try to, let's say, move the car along the parallel of this specific path, then seeing this, we can see that the car moves in the maximum work. However, if I try to go into this dimension, and let's say like I'm doing the hypotenuse, I am still moving from point A to point B regardless of height, but I'm taking a longer turn, right? Instead of going straight from A to B, I'm going from A to B, but there's a small distance in the y-axis? I don't know, X, Y, and Z? Whatever. It's a matter of definitions. Anyways, you get my point. If I move my car into different angles, the work changes. If I move my car directly perpendicular to the road that I want my car to follow, I get null, a work of zero. However, if I try to make it more along this path, then I get more and more accurate and maximum amount of work. Okay, this mathematical definition is not circular because it defines work based on other properties than energy itself, namely displacement and force. Okay, neat little definition, but what does it tell us about work? What does it tell us about energy? It's like, again, with the time analogy, it's like saying time is... What is time? Time is something that clocks measure. Okay, well, that doesn't really add much, but it's still a bit closer than saying energy is a thing, right? Let's try to understand this a bit more. It turns out that energy in practice is a bit of a slippery slope. It shows up in a million different ways. You push a car, that's kinetic energy. You lift a car, that's potential energy. And let's say you burn the car, that's thermal energy, and there are many other types of energy. And if you really want to get wild, remember, Einstein told us that mass itself is energy. And in some way, the mass of our car is in itself energy. So maybe instead of asking this very general definition, like what is energy, we should be asking a more specific question. Why does energy show up everywhere in our universe? And I believe that this has something to do with the conservation of energy. Here's the fun part. Energy is always conserved and always accounted for, no matter how many crazy transformations that happen. If the car crashes into a wall, the energy that has been transferred from kinetic, that has been used as kinetic energy, when on impact with the wall, it would transform into bricks flying around, heat, light maybe, I don't know, sound. That energy has transformed and it was never lost. This, there's this very mainstream analogy that physics is like a very strict accountant. The numbers always add up, even if the currency changes, even if we have different forms of energy, they're all, physics always manages to account for it, to balance it out. And this universality isn't just an accident. Energy isn't just some arbitrary physics definition that we made up, we constructed. It's a consequence of something much deeper, the symmetries within our universe. I know physicists love this concept of symmetries, don't they, right? They ridiculously get excited when there's like a bit of symmetry, and honestly for good reason. Symmetry is beautiful, and when you see it, you go, aha, maybe that makes sense, right? So there's this mind-blowing theorem in physics, and it's called Noether's theorem, and it says that for every symmetry in nature, there's a corresponding conservation law. So what does this mean for energy? Well, the conservation of energy comes from the fact that the laws of physics don't care when you do the experiment. You drop a ball once, let's say I drop a ball here, I drop it another time, the equations that describe the motion of the fall of the ball never change. It's always the same equations. This symmetry in time is the reason energy has to be conserved. The laws of physics don't change just because time has passed. Not only that, but because the laws are the same no matter when you do it, energy is conserved. Because the laws of the universe are always the same no matter where you do it, momentum is conserved. And because the laws of the universe are always the same no matter how you do it, like let's say like you rotate it a certain manner and you keep rotating it in that manner, angular momentum is always the same. So you see the vision, right? You know, suddenly energy isn't just some human-made concept. It's not just convenient. It's not just a thing. It's not just a mathematical definition. It's inevitable. It's everywhere. And maybe you don't know much about what energy is, but you know more than you started the video. And that's good enough.